Hello everyone. The Egyptians are known for their groundbreaking craft, which they built in search of a conscious civilization. According to recent information, it has been learned that Egypt is digging a man-made river in the desert to reclaim 2.8 acres of land. Their main goal is to turn this reclaimed land, which cost $58 billion, into an agricultural square. This is a similar study to the large man-made river excavated in Libya. Isn't it impressive? But what is really impressive is the work of the ancient Egyptians. In our video today, we will go beyond the usual discoveries with you and take a look at those discoveries that scientists have found in Egypt and that have surprised the whole world. Lost Altinquant. One of the most important discoveries in Egypt is the discovery of the lost Altinquant. 3,000 years ago, the ancient city disappeared among the sands of Egypt. The history of this city dates back to the reign of the third Amenhotep, one of the most powerful decrees of Egypt and who was on the throne from 1390 to 1353 BC. This city also continued to be used by Tutankhamun and the pharaohs who ascended to the throne after him. Although there were many previous attempts to find the lost city, they all ended in failure. But in September 2020, a team of archaeologists began excavating in Luxor, West Bank, 500 kilometers from the capital Cairo. What they discover to the discoverer may cause your mouth to stay open. The first thing they encountered were mud brick formulations indicating the settlement of a large city. What amazed the archaeologists was that the settlement was in good condition. Almost all of the walls were intact. The rooms were filled with tools used in daily work. After 7 months of work, many areas including the residential area and the bakery were discovered in the administrative district, as well as charms, talismans, jewelry, colorful urns and many other valuable decorative ritual items made of a sacred insect species were discovered in their almost pristine locations. No one expected such a settlement area, which was thought to have disappeared centuries ago, to exist. This discovery was announced by a professor of Egyptology at the Johns Hopkins University in the USA, and scientists had the opportunity to study the lives of the ancient Egyptians in a tunnel 1,305 meters long. Another shocking discovery is this tunnel located under the specially built temple of the goddess of death and described as a geometric miracle, which is about 1,305 meters long and 2 meters high. This tunnel is also an exact copy of the Eupalinos tunnel, which has been carrying water in Greece for more than 1,000 years. The discovered tunnel is located 13 meters below the temple. According to Catlin Martins, archaeologists from the University of Santo Domingo, who discovered the tunnel, reported that part of the tunnel was flooded. The most plausible explanation for the tunnel being underwater is that the temple collapsed after many natural disasters that hit the region, especially earthquakes that occurred between 320 and 1,300 years after death. During previous excavations at the site, archaeologists found various artifacts such as a cemetery filled with mummies in the style of figurines of the goddess Isis and coins bearing images of the 7th Cleopatra, among others. Cleopatra, who reigned in Egypt between 51 and 30 years BC, is thought to have committed suicide along with her lover Mark Antony, a Roman general. Although it was recorded that these two lovers were buried together, no one knew exactly where they were buried. With the recent discovery, archaeologists think they are getting closer and closer to the long-lost tomb of the Queen, a pregnant ancient mummy. Here is another discovery that will make you shudder. But you don't have to worry too much, because this discovery is about a mummy. The only difference is that there is a fetus in the abdomen after the discovery. The questions of who this woman is and why she was embalmed with the fetus in the abdomen came to mind. She was later identified as the mystery woman of the Warsaw Museum. The mummy, or in other words the mother mummy and her sarcophagus, were donated to the University of Warsaw in 1826 and have been safely stored in the National Museum in Warsaw, Poland since 1971. The story of the mummy is quite interesting because at first it was thought to be a man because of the carefully prepared sarcophagus, but around 1920 it became clear that the writing on the coffin and the cartography writing were different, and according to this article, the name written on the coffin was Jorge Hoti. In 2016 it was discovered that the bones were too delicate and that this mummy might not be priest Jorge Hoti. The mummy did not have male reproductive organs and the three-dimensional reconstruction revealed that the mummy had breasts. Perhaps they had put a completely different mummy inside the sarcophagus to make it a more valuable artifact. If that's their goal, they've achieved it with the first pregnant mummy, a 4,200-year-old queen's tomb. One of the important discoveries unearthed in Egypt is the Great Tomb in Memphis, which was once the capital of ancient Egypt. Although this place is home to many pyramids, the latest discovery can be considered a great success for Egyptologists. During the excavations initiated in the 2010, a tomb was discovered close to the Pyramid of Kral-Titi, and at that time no name could be found as to who this pyramid belonged to. But thanks to the name written on the wall of the tomb temple discovered in the late 2020, they were able to identify the owner of the pyramid. The tomb belonged to Neret, the wife of King Teti, who died 4,200 years ago. According to Zahihas, a prominent Egyptian physician, this discovery will help rewrite the history of ancient Egypt, because the queen's name does not appear in any ancient Egyptian history. About a year ago, a team of archaeologists excavating in Saqqara, an ancient cemetery located south of Cairo, discovered a large granite sarcophagus that is thousands of years old. This ancient coffin belonged to Tanbiya, who was the chief treasurer and royal secretary of the second Ramses. Thanks to this discovery, information can be obtained about how the Egyptian administration progressed after the death of King Tutankhamun. It is believed that Ramses II, who took the throne after Tutankhamun, was one of the most important pharaohs who ruled Egypt during the New Kingdom period. Tahanbi was an important member of the cabinet during this period. His tomb was discovered last year with the discovery of the entire sarcophagus, and at that time it was a rare event to find a complete sarcophagus in the original tomb. Because grave robbers have always robbed the graves of high-ranking people. This was also the case with the discovered sarcophagus. The lid of the sarcophagus was broken. This meant that he was either the target of grave robbers or that it was opened before his burial. But despite this, the sarcophagus was an extraordinary example of the discovery of the temples of the sun. The next discovery may blow your mind. Solar temples were built in honor of the sun god in Egypt, the 5th dynasty period, 2465, 2323 BC. The sun temples, which were usually built near the pyramid complexes, had their own staff and farmland. Donations were also collected during the festival dates. It is believed that 6 of these sun temples were built. But some believe that instead of individual temples, there is only one temple, and its name has changed over the years. However, recent excavations in the Abu Ghrab area prove that this view is wrong, so the temple discovered underneath was a separate structure. He was the 6th king of the 5th dynasty, and had reigned from 2400 to 2370 BC. And the fact that this newly discovered temple has seals and beer jars dating back to the 25th century BC reveals the fact that this temple is older than its temple. In addition, this temple was built of adobe. Another temple discovered belonged to Usar-Khafa, the 1st king of the 5th dynasty. The Library of Alexandria. The Library of Alexandria is another great discovered treasure of humanity. Before the library decayed in the fire, it is thought to have housed between 400 and 700 household manuscripts related to science. Although the library was built as a monument to Alexander the Great, his body was not buried there. Although many people really believe that there is nothing left in the library, a Polish-Egyptian team discovered what they believe to be the original location of the ancient Library of Alexandria in 2004 years. They also discovered places that can be described as amphitheaters or ordinariums during their excavations of some parts of the Brusan district of the Mediterranean city of the Valley of Golden Mummies. In the year 2001, an Egyptian team uncovered a mummy community in Bahariya Vega, 380 kilometers west of the pyramids. 105 mummies consisting of Romans and Egyptians were found in the tomb. Some of them had religious decorations, while others had golden masks, and although they had been here for more than 2,000 years, they were quite well preserved. According to Dr. Zahie Abbas, these discoveries are not just about objects. It's also about those who make them. With this discovery, scientists obtained information about the lives and deaths of Egyptians in Bahariya during the period, and according to this information, people here provided their wealth by importing wine to the valley. Embalming workshop. The journey of archaeologists in Egypt did not end with the discoveries of the Valley of the Mummy. In 2016 years, they discovered an ancient cemetery located south of Kari and dating back 2,500 years. The last excavation work was carried out here in the year 1900. The embalming workshop in this settlement, which belongs to the Persian period between 664 and 404 BC, was used as a mummification area with a large collection of pottery vessels, and this workshop had a rectangular structure built of brick and limestone blocks. Decapitation of the mummification workshop in this settlement belonged to the Persian period between 664 and 404 BC. Various artifacts were also found here, including pottery treasure mummy cartonnage pieces, a mannequin, tile containers, domed cylindrical jars and a gilded silver mask. All these treasures carry information about how the burial practices of the ancient Egyptians were carried out and, in particular, how they preserved the body for life after death. However, there is a large column in the center of the workshop and it extends to a complex of burial chambers with several sarcophagi and wooden coffins separating the social classes of the dead buried there from the world's oldest industrial-scale pita factory. This discovery is about how the Egyptians used to honor their dead. Before the pyramids were built, the Egyptians used a large amount of one-on-one sacrificial ceremonies that they organized at the funerals of their kings. For this reason, around 3150 BC, during the reign of King Narmer, they built an industrial-scale brewery. The remains of this brewery were discovered 5,000 years later in the cemetery area north of Abydos. Abydos is actually home to the tombs of kings dating back to the pre-dynastic system period. This discovered brewery could produce 5,900 gallons of beer at a time, and dried cereal grains were also found in research conducted in the region. According to the British archaeologist Eric B., the grain was used to protect against rotting. However, later, it turned out that grain was used in beer making in research conducted in similar works in different regions. While the grains he discovered disappeared after that, they were rediscovered with the help of magnetic research technology in 2018. The production capacity of the plant was unique, and the discovery of this region shows how rich the Egyptian rulers were. There were thousands in the region discovered from these beer jars, which are commonly found in funerary temples. Mysterious giant finger. The next discovery is about a giant finger found in 1988 and measuring 38 centimeters long. This is the largest human finger discovered by scientists. What makes this discovery even more mysterious is that no remains of the finger's owner have been found anywhere in the world. Perhaps we haven't dug deep enough yet. Portraits of living people. Another discovery that surprised the world was the portraits of living people. These mummy portraits were made on linen shrouds and were discovered during excavations at the cemetery located in Predelphia, one of the ancient cities in Egypt. Thanks to this discovery, 2 completed mummy portraits of people in the cemetery and many incomplete portraits were uncovered. Researchers believe that such high-quality portraits belong to the middle class or elite class of populated discoveries, due to the fact that their construction was quite expensive at that time. In addition, due to looters, it is quite rare for archaeologists to find mummy portraits, and the last time they were found was in the 1880s. The mummy with the golden tongue. Ancient Egyptians, they believed in the afterlife so much that they put many incredible artifacts next to the mummies so that they could live in the best way on the other side. It was no longer surprising that treasures, cooking materials and sometimes slaves to help the elite find their way in the other world were found in these tombs. In the Greco-Roman period, mummies were buried with their tongues covered with gold. The ancient Egyptians believed that the golden tongue would give a person supernatural powers on the other side. One of these supernatural powers was the power of speech, the god of death. A similar burial practice was also discovered located north of Kiri. In these tombs, golden sacred insects, jewelry and urns were found in the same way as mummified babies. When King Tutankhamun's tomb was discovered, there were also mummified babies found in this tomb. The fact that these two unnamed baby girls are hidden in a private area still remains a mystery. Did the babies die before the king? Did they have a special aspect, or were they sacrificed during the ceremony? We may never find the answers to these questions. However, some sources say that these babies are the daughters of Tutankhamun and decamped shortly before the king, so Tutankhamun may have wanted to be buried next to his daughters and reunited with them in the afterlife. Also, the fact that these babies are anonymous makes the situation quite sad. The dolls were numbered 317 and 317 B-shaped. What do you think these numbers might mean as the punishment of ancient naughty students? Parents and teachers have various methods to discipline naughty children, right? In the ancient Egyptians, 2,000 years ago, he punished writing lines on naughty pieces of pottery. Archaeologists managed to find 18,000 pieces of these inscribed pottery, also known as early 2022. The Department of Archaeology at the University of Tübingen, Germany, which made this discovery, researched the surrounding stories to find answers to what the pottery shards might depict, and they concluded that the doodles on the pottery were lines printed on naughty students when they did something wrong. You can subscribe to my channel and like the video for such videos to come.